Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tear into a leadership model from the book, The Three Faces of Leadership, that might just flip how you think about leading. The big idea here? That the typical data-obsessed manager is really only 1/3 of the whole picture. So when you picture a manager, what pops into your head? Probably someone buried in spreadsheets, right? Focused on strategy, data, processes, control. It's all very scientific, very logical, and maybe a little bit sterile. But is that really what it takes to lead? Is that what gets people fired up and build incredible companies? Well, we're about to put that whole idea to the test. All right, here's the game plan. We'll start with what's missing from that old school manager model. Then we'll dive into the three faces every leader needs: the manager, the artist, and the priest. We'll check out the artist's secret weapon, storytelling, and the priest's archetypes, which the authors call the gods of the boardroom. Finally, we'll wrap up by asking, which one are you? Look, the rational manager is awesome for hitting targets and making the trains run on time, no doubt. But when it comes to creating a culture, sparking real innovation, and getting people to truly buy in, that model, it's just not enough. The book argues that relying on only logic ignores the very things that have driven human culture since day one: art and a sense of purpose. And what's really cool is how the authors stumbled upon this. Get this, they started out wanting to critique a bunch of CEO interviews from the Harvard Business Review. They were basically expecting to find a lot of corporate fluff. But they got a huge surprise. Instead of just propaganda, they found these truly remarkable leaders who were doing something different. They were masterfully blending sharp management with art and, a real sense of mission. And that big surprise, it led them to this brand new model for leadership, built around three essential faces that every single effective leader needs to learn how to wear. And just to be clear, we're not talking about three different people. These are different hats, different modes of thinking and acting that one leader has to switch between. Okay, so what are they? First up, you have the manager. This is the rational face, the one focused on how to get things done. Then you've got the artist. This is the aesthetic face, the one who uses creativity and storytelling to inspire. And finally, there's the priest. This is the spiritual face, the one who provides the big why, the vision, the meaning, the core values that hold everything together. So this is the real paradigm shift right here. Your classic manager works with a toolkit of rationality, data, and control. It's all about process. But the complete leader, they have a much bigger toolkit. They add the artist's creativity and storytelling and the priest's vision and values. It's a huge leap from just managing the work to actually leading the people. So let's zoom in on that artist's face for a minute. How does a leader actually do this? Well, the number one tool is storytelling. And no, we're not talking about telling knock-knock jokes at the water cooler. We're talking about using narrative to make sense of the world, to build culture, and to really persuade people. The organizational theorist Antonio Strati put it perfectly. He said that a great story does way more than just entertain. It literally burns moments into the company's memory. It shapes how we relate to each other and turns mundane events into something meaningful. It's how you build the entire vibe of an organization. So the authors identified four main types of stories that leaders tell. You've got epics, which are all about inspiring heroism and innovation. Think of Racham's stories about their product breakthroughs. Then you have comic stories, which humanize a company, like the story that the VW van was invented because someone needed a better way to move an egg box. Tragic stories teach us lessons from failure, like how bureaucracy slowed Motorola down. And finally, romantic tales build connection through caring, like when Stride Right started a community daycare. Okay, let's switch gears to the priest, the face that deals with meaning and values. To really get a handle on this, the authors did something brilliant. They turned to mythology, using the Greek gods as archetypes for different leadership styles. Now, obviously, this isn't literal, but it's a super powerful way to see the different ways leaders provide that deeper vision. First on the list is Hermes, the messenger god. The Hermes leader, they're the innovator, the master communicator. They're super quick-witted, they live for connecting different ideas and people, and they just have this knack for creating wealth by doing things in a totally new way. And for a perfect real-world example, just look at Michael Dell. His famous quote, "We substitute information for inventory," is pure Hermes. I mean, think about it. It perfectly captures this brilliant business model built entirely on the lightning-fast flow of information, a move that totally blew up the computer industry. Next up, we have Ares, the god of war. You can probably guess this one. The Aries leader is the ultimate competitor. They're aggressive, they're all about action, and they are laser focused on winning. This is the kind of leader who absolutely thrives on pressure and sees business as a battlefield. And wow, you could not find a more perfect example of the Aries archetype than this quote from Lawrence Bossidy at Allied Signal. Anybody who makes his numbers and says, "I don't need TQ," has to walk the plank or change. I mean, it is direct, it's tough, it's completely focused on results, there's zero room for interpretation there, it's perform or get out. All right, now for a totally different kind of energy, we have Demeter, the goddess of the harvest. The Demeter leader is the nurturer. Their whole focus is on growth, on fertility, and on creating a supportive, caring environment, not just for their employees, but for the whole community. They grow success organically. Arnold Hyatt from Stride Right is a beautiful example of this. His decision to open the very first corporate daycare center wasn't some cold calculation from a spreadsheet. It came from a genuine sense of responsibility to the community. That story just screams Demeter, leadership that's rooted in care, growth, and nurturing. So we've walked through the rational manager, the creative artist, and the value-driven priest. And that brings us to the most important question of all. How does this apply to you? So here's the big takeaway from all this. Effective leadership is not one-dimensional. It's about finding the right balance between the rational manager, the creative artist, and the value-driven priest. Using tools like storytelling and understanding these archetypes can help you develop all three of those faces. Because the real key, as the book puts it, is that you must learn to rotate your different faces. Do not favor one over the others. You must love them all equally. And that leads us to one last question for you to think about. When you look at the world today, at all the challenges we're facing in business, in our communities, all over the globe, which face of leadership do you think we need most right now? The rational manager, the creative artist, or the spiritual priest? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching.